take to get lucky? Welcome back to the Idea Supply Chain, where we take a look at where ideas come from and what makes those ideas valuable. In today's video, I want to explore the concept of luck because, frankly, I need to get lucky. Not like that. Take your dirty minds elsewhere. Actually, stay here. I want you to listen. Um, you know, I think a lot about probability. Everything I do with quantum economics, it's all dealing with the value of information in uncertain ways. You need to figure out what information is valuable, when it's valuable, and you need to put it all together into some sort of economic model. And that's a tough thing to do. But, I have played a lot of poker in my life. In fact, that's what finally got me to learn probability. I actually hated probability in school. I love all sorts of higher level mathematics, hated probability. And then I started playing poker and I started to love probability, and not just probability, but also game theory and even human psychology. A lot of things, right? There's a lot of different skills that go into playing poker. And the beautiful thing of it is it's a game in the mind. Someone who has never been particularly athletic, I always enjoy games that I can play mentally. And poker was one of those. But one of the things I realized is that overall, I'm a pretty unlucky person. And that's probably more of a feeling than an actual reality. Because one of the things I've realized is that we remember bad luck way longer and way better than we remember good luck. Because the times we get unlucky make the best stories. Oh, you wouldn't believe this. I had, the absolute best possible hand. They had a 1% chance of beating me, and they ended up hitting that shot. There's a lot of sympathy that you get in those stories. But the reality of poker and of life is that sometimes you get unlucky, and that's fine. The real value comes in the decision making. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to get lucky. You want to put yourself in a position that your skill will offset any luck you get. There's a couple different ways to do this. First of all, you want to put yourself in winning positions. If you're consistently in a place where you're 80% to win, you're going to win that about 80% of the time. So you want to put yourself in that type of position a lot. On the other hand, if you're a 2% chance to win, you don't want to be in that position very often. Unless there are favorable reasons in very specific cases where you do want to be in there. And that's where it gets into a lot of things like pot odds and understanding, how much money is at risk, how much money do you stand to win versus the chances of being successful. And then the other way is to play the game long enough that skill wins over time. Because again, if you're putting yourself into way more valuable and way more high probability situations and keeping yourself out of those low probability situations where you're not causing yourself unnecessary risk, it's a winnable game. But you've got to be able to do that. And unfortunately, one of the realities of our current economy is that it's not structured for people to be able to play the long game. And so the result is that people get excited to play the short game with the long odds because they see it as a dream. Oh, well, if I win the lottery, I'm going to do X. You're not going to win the lottery. Feel confident saying that. And that's okay, because you shouldn't need to win the lottery. But people want to win the lottery because it gives them a chance to escape and breathe and actually not have to worry about the future for once. That's just not the reality for most people. I've seen a situation this week that a friend of mine has been put into a really hard situation. A lot of things not working in his and his family's favor. And I'm going to do everything I can to help turn that around and turn it into a lucky break for him. It is possible. You can create luck, because the reality of life is that those who dare win. One of the ways that I really kind of made my mark playing poker is I like to play what was called a loose aggressive style. And so what that means is I would play a lot of hands, and I would play those hands very, very aggressively, which means it didn't matter what cards I had. If I'm coming in betting, I'm coming in raising. And it was a lot of fun for me. Definitely got myself into situations that were not so great, because it would be one of those where I'd get myself in place where now I've got a decent hand, but I came in aggressive. So what do the people against me have? And so you have to be able to really adapt to situations that way. And you have to be willing to throw cards away. And, there were a lot of good times when I played that way, and a lot of bad times. But one of the things I remember is that there were a couple college professors that I would play with. And I was in college at the time. Didn't actually have them for any of my classes, but they were professors at the school I was going to. And they were economics professors. And I used to drive them crazy. One even more so than the other, because the things I were doing made no sense. And so I'd come in a way that they didn't expect. And yeah, sometimes I would hit cards, sometimes I wouldn't. But what ends up happening is then they end up going on tilt, as it's called. And so they let their emotions play into the way that they were playing the game. And that ended up giving me an edge, because they weren't playing their game. They were playing my game. And they weren't as good at my game as I was, because it was the game that I was used to playing. And so it got them into making bad decisions. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately, because I've felt a bit unlucky. There are certainly ways that I'm very, very lucky, and I appreciate that, but I need a different kind of luck. And so that means thinking outside the box a bit. I think it's time to get back to some of this loose aggressive play, putting bets out that seem out of place or weird. One of the things I've really been learning is that being able to do things in a way in which you don't take yourself too seriously, and you try to just have fun with it ends up being successful way more than the times that you're trying to be super serious and like make some very specific outcome happen. And what I've been working on tonight is an idea that embodies this. I'm poking a bit of fun at myself while also kind of testing a product that I'm building. And it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. I don't actually know, but I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to use it to stretch myself a bit. It's going to be more of a loose, aggressive kind of play. As I've gotten older and gotten away from the gambling side of things, I tend to play a much tighter game now, which has its place, but I think it's time to loosen up. And honestly, I want to start embracing my weird. There's another concept that has kind of come up for me lately, is this idea of being weird and being okay with that. And, you know, the nice thing about being weird is that you don't need to worry about trying to fit in a specific box, because the fact that you don't fit in a box is essentially the box you want to fit in. That's the weird box, right? And I think when you're willing to let yourself be weird, you allow those around you to also be weird. And you create kind of this weird gravity. And when you have weird gravity, you can create a lot of luck because people are able to open up and express themselves in very, very creative ways that aren't possible when everyone's trying to fit in. So as you're thinking about whether you're lucky or unlucky, and, you know, I think those are probably both true for everybody. Some people's luck gets bigger than others. Some people do actually win the lottery. But that's not something I ever want to bank on having to do. I want to be able to bet on myself. And to truly bet on myself and stack the deck in my favor, that's all about getting kind of weird and embracing that weird and using the weird gravity I can create to create some luck. Going to finish with sharing a bit that I've read in a book, in the book series. It's actually, I don't know if you've seen the previous videos where I've talked about the submind, but it's the same series, Expeditionary Force. But the super advanced AI in there keeps saying that luck isn't a thing the way you humans think of it. And I actually think there's something to that. We live in a very complex, chaotic universe in which things aren't easy to predict. But I think there's definite ways that you can push the universe to act in your favor. And that comes around to creating your own luck. And people typically don't get lucky by trying to do exactly what everybody else does. People get lucky by embracing their weird. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. Go out there, embrace your weird, and go get lucky. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.